Northeast Alabama Sports Live. I am your host, Mark Everett Kelly, and we are here at Fort Payne Stadium for Fort Payne's first playoff game here against Pell City. First, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Cattle Stampede over here in Fort Payne. If you haven't gone down there to eat, they have great food. They have a buffet. It's a really good price. Go see Miles, the owner. Great guy. He'll take care of you. But more than that, you'll come away with an affordable family meal, a very good family meal, and a buffet so you can kind of keep coming back. I mean, me personally, I like mashed potatoes and gravy. They got steak that's really good. They got pork chops that are really good. They got ribs that are good. Yeah, again, Northerners don't like okra, so I'm not an okra guy. But they got that. They got onion rings. They got anything you could want for you and your family, and they got great dessert, great service, a great restaurant, the Cattle Stampede over here in Fort Payne. I'd also like to thank the Fired Up Network up there in Canada. They are sending us out over 200 different platforms so we can be seen, not just here in Fort Payne, but we're going to be seen throughout the world. Platforms I didn't even know exist. And also we got Bobby Ledbetter's Auto Sales up there in Gadsden. Bobby's one of the most generous guys. Him and Miles actually do a lot of things for the community. They feed a lot of people. Bobby's just a generous guy. And I was down there on Friday doing a preview for the 2025 DeKalb County football season and Calhoun County as well. I had John Holzer on. And they had sales. They had so many people there. It was a happening event. I had this guy Warren who told me about the cars they have for sale, and Bobby's a guy who's, you know, in just a my short time of knowing him, will really take care of you. And I've heard he's done so many things to people throughout the community. So just Miles and Bobby alone, those two sponsors I'm really proud to have here on Northeast Alabama Sports Live. So after their 10-game regular season, Fort Payne finished on a roll, winning 8 straight games. That earned them a playoff game right here against Pell City. Everybody in town was excited. You got a home playoff game here at Fort Payne Stadium. The fans were rocking, the players were ready. Coach Elmore was ready. However, they were a little nervous at first. Dax threw a pick 6 early on. They fell behind 7-0. They actually wound up falling behind 17-0. I mean, Connor Hughes even had a field goal blocked, which was only his third miss in 13 attempts all year. So things weren't going really well early. However, this was a different breed of football team again. And what we saw from the second quarter on was a team that was determined. Not just determined to get back in the game, but they were determined to show everybody here that they had learned lessons throughout the season. Like Coach Elmore had taught them, you guys keep playing. Play with confidence. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. And Coach Elmore, he wasn't afraid to go for it early on in the game. Now, they didn't convert, but that gave them the confidence to say, hey, you know what? We're not going to settle for just doing status quo here. We're going to go for the throat. And again, falling behind 17-0, that started to really show a little in the second quarter. 34-yard touchdown pass from Dax Farnador to Brandon Oliver right over here in the corner. Great catch by Oliver. Great throw by Dax. Again, a throw he's making because he's confident, playing without fear. Right over the shoulder, Oliver makes a great catch. That cuts it to 17-7. Then Fort Payne gets the ball back. They're driving down again. And Kyle, I called him Calamari because Mr. Kelly's got some brain damage. Kyle Caminetti, he had 2 catches for 44 yards in the game. They were one of the great catches right here on the sideline. You can actually see me watching this on the highlights. You see this really good, I'm only kidding. You see this, you see me standing right there looking at Caminetti catch the ball, keep his feet in bounds, able to cradle the ball in, and Varnador threw a great pass. I mean, it was one of the best plays I've seen, forget about high school on any level. Now, Fort Payne did not score any points during that drive, but again, they kept playing with confidence. And then by midway through the third quarter, Connor Hughes had cut the lead to 17-10. Early in the fourth quarter, Carter Blaylock, who had 88 rushing yards, scored to tie the game at 17. However, Pell City wound up taking a 23-17 lead. Now, they did not make the extra point. Fort Payne comes right back down the field. Another great pass from Dax to Brandon Oliver, who had 5 catches for 91 yards, puts him right at the 25-yard line. And Carter Blaylock scores again. It's 24-23 with about 5 minutes left. Now it was up to that defense, which had played so much better during their 8-game win streak. Remember, this was a defense that allowed 219 rushing yards per game during their first 3 games, and had cut that to just under 90 during their win streak. 5 minutes left to play. Carter Tinker, Luke Patton, Levi Crow, Riker Engel, who made an interception earlier in the game, very big play, Mason Chandler. These are the guys that provided Fort Payne's final stand. Game came down to one play, 50-yard line, around the 50-yard line. Trailing 24-23, Pell City dropped back to pass. In comes big Mason Chandler to provide a bone-crunching sack that gave Fort Payne the win and sent everybody here into hysterics. A big win for a school that deserved it, that came to play, that showed poise, that showed perseverance, that their seniors played like leaders. Their head coach, Chris Elmore, coached like a leader. No fear. Get the job done. We are good enough to do this. They did. A big 24-23 win. I remember writing in Times Journal, big-time players make big-time plays in big-time games. You had Dax Barnador, you had Brandon Oliver, you had Carter Tinker, you had Carter Blaylock, and then you had Mason Chandler ending the game with a huge sack. And Fort Payne was on their way to the second round, where they would play Homewood here at home in their second straight home playoff game. After their huge playoff win against Pell City here, 24-23, where they rallied from 17-0 down to win, Fort Payne hosted Homewood here, where Chris Elmore led his group that played without fear, and a coach again that was coaching without fear on the field against Homewood. Now, this was a game for the ages. Back and forth game, big plays by both teams. You had Carter Blaylock again come into play. 2 touchdown runs, 57 rushing yards for the game, giving him 8 touchdowns in his last 5 games. This was a player that really showed improvement. Then you had Brandon Oliver doing what he normally does, 7 receptions for 89 yards. You had Dax Barnador throwing for 277 yards and a touchdown. In the back and forth game, you had Connor Kinsley, who made a huge play in the game, 4 catches, 402 yards. Kinsley's touchdown reception was his first against Gadsden City. Fort Payne was trailing 17-10 when he caught a 58-yard touchdown pass from Dax Barnador on a beautiful over-the-shoulder catch that tied the game at 17. Well, it came down to this. Trailing 32-25 entering the fourth quarter, Fort Payne got a big turnover early in the fourth quarter. That led to a Connor Hughes field goal that cut it to 38-28. Then their defense came up big again as Homewood screwed up a punt. Fort Payne jumped on it. Now, a touchdown would give them the lead. And that's exactly what happened as Carter Blaylock scored again to give them now a 35-32 lead. The defense came up big, forcing a 3-and-out. Offense got the ball back with about 4 minutes left, and they had to run out the clock, which they did. The final clinching play culminating with Riker Shankles on a 22-yard reception to end the game. Shankles was saying after the game, hey, I played with these guys since kindergarten. This was such a joy for me to make the play that put us into the third round. Now, this is the first time that Fort Payne wound up making the third round as a 6A school. They had done it in 2010 as a 5A school, but they were 1-8 in the playoffs in the second round. A huge win for a school that deserved it, for players that deserved it, for a team that was showing no fear in their execution and in how they were handling where they were in the game. Coach Elmore again led by example, and Fort Payne had their second straight win, 35-32, where they came from behind 5 different times for the win. For Fort Payne, this was huge. third round of the playoffs where they were playing one of my alma maters. Well, not really alma mater, but I would consider it an alma mater, being that I'm from New York. I came from Calhoun County, and I worked for Oxford in their school system, substitute teaching. That's where they were headed next. And Oxford was undefeated and a very, very good team. And Fort Payne was really going to test themselves now. Third round, for the first time in a long time, and for the first time as a 6A school. But the precedent had been set. These players were going to make this season as memorable as it could be. Big plays in both games, coming from behind. Fourth quarter, taking over, winning the game by big defensive plays. This was this Fort Payne team as they head into Oxford for the third round of the playoffs and an undefeated Oxford Yellow Jackets. After big home playoff wins against Pell City and Homewood, Fort Payne came here to play the Oxford Yellow Jackets, the undefeated Oxford Yellow Jackets. Now that building back there, okay, that's an indoor 50-yard football stadium, okay? And I used to sub here, and during my off periods, I would want to go and sleep on like the 30-yard line. That's how nice it was. So this is big-time high school football, and Oxford does it like nobody else. And this is where Fort Payne was coming to play in the third round of the playoffs. The game got off to a good start for the Wildcats as they scored on their first possession. Dax Varnador had a 1-yard touchdown run. But from there, Oxford took over more of the rest of the first half. But from there, Oxford took over the first half. Going into the fourth quarter, Oxford was leading 28-17. Wildcats scored to make it 28-23. And then Connor Hughes kicked a field goal to make it 28-26. However, they did not get the ball back as Oxford ran out the clock and ended Fort Payne's 2024 football season with a 28-26 loss. Despite the loss, what a season, what an effort, what inspiration these Fort Payne kids were to everybody in the Fort Payne community. To me, as a sports writer, it was an honor to cover these kids. Watching them play, there was such an watching them play, there was such a raised level of effort, of continuity, of understanding, of picking each other up, of listening to Coach Elmore, and even Coach Elmore, who I think for him, seeing his players play at such a level and getting to experience big-time high school playoff football here in Alabama, I think it gave him confidence, and he became a better coach. And he was making great decisions that were working out. And if they didn't, hey, you know what? He had the guts to do it. And that's what you need as a high school football coach. So often games come down to the ability to think differently than the other coach, or to take a risk or a gamble. And if you ask Coach Elmo, I'm sure he'll say he learned how to do that throughout the playoff run. Thank you for joining us here on our fourth episode of Northeast Alabama Sports Live. This is our look at the 2024 Fort Payne football season. Make sure you come out and catch these guys in 2025 as they get ready for an exciting season and to build on all the momentum that they created last year. Once again, I am your host, Mark Everett Kelly. I would like to thank our sponsors. We have the Cattle Stampede up here in Fort Payne. They have a great family meal at a great price. Come down and get a buffet. Come down and get all sorts of meat, corn, mashed potatoes. Great meal, great family price. Go and see Miles up there at the Cattle Stampede. To Bobby Ledbetter Auto Sales. I was just at Bobby's place. Bobby's got like 1,600 friend requests that he hasn't responded to because he's got so many people that he knows and he's done favors for. And Bobby Ledbetter's Auto up there at Twin City Auto Sale. They're in Gadsden. They're here in Fort Payne. Make sure you check out the one here in Fort Payne. Bobby's a great guy. He'll set you up. He's set so many people up. Him and Miles really do a lot for the community. And to Fired Up Network up in Canada for putting us out over 200 platforms so we can be seen throughout the world. Once again, thank you for joining us. I am your host, Mark Everett Kelly.